I need to get a couple of things off my chest, things that are haunting me, and maybe you can relate to some of these things. And I have some things that I have decided to do moving forward, and I hope it helps you too. So welcome to my home on the side of a mountain in the forest. Time to get cozy. Grab your tea and let's go. If we've never met before, my name is Robyn. I am a former nurse, mom to 3 boys. One of them is 16 and the other 2 are adults. I have 3 wonderful cats. There's one fuzzy one here. And today I'm drinking a delicious apple cinnamon tea. So I want to share with you a story that just breaks my heart every time I tell it. And if you're a mom or just any kind of person, you probably have some big regrets. For me as a mom, there's a ton of mom guilt. And back when I was in nursing school, this was in like 2011, I remember I was starting my practicum. I was a first-year nursing student, and it was Mother's Day. There was a Mother's Day tea at my 5-year-old's school. I went to school, I had 3 little boys, 5, 3, and 1. It was so much work to be in nursing school with little kids. And I was one of those people where at the end of the day, all of the young, like 18 and 19-year-olds would be like, I'm so tired, I need to have a nap. And I was like, I'm gonna go home, make dinner, get the kids to bed, and then study. And there was like, and talk about guilt then, but on this particular day, there was this Mother's Day tea, and unfortunately, I could not make it to my son's school. So I asked a relative to go in my place. Now, when I got home from my school at the end of the day with a practicum that was actually taking place in a different little town nearby, I ended up coming home and our babysitter was like, oh my goodness, your eldest son, let's just call him Ethan. Ethan is just so upset. He ended up walking home from the bus stop. Like, keep in mind, he was 5. He was very small. It was only a couple of blocks to the bus stop, but maybe a block. But still, like, you don't want him crossing the street. And she said he was just had tears pouring down his face. He was devastated. And he said that nobody came for the Mother's Day tea. And so I see him, and he's like, you weren't there. And I felt terrible. And I said, sweetie, I wasn't supposed to be there. So-and-so was going in my place. And I said, well, did you have fun? And he said, no. And he said, and I didn't have cake because I was waiting for you. And then the school day ended and he caught the bus home. He wasn't supposed to catch the bus home. He was supposed to get a ride home with this family member. And he was just devastated. My heart was broken. And here's the thing. It's like, I wasn't actually supposed to be there. But this is one of those things where the mother's guilt still, to this day, 15 years later, haunts me. I still feel terrible that my poor little boy had his heart broken because his mom, who he thought was going to be showing up, wasn't there. And I was like, oh, and this is like part of my gripe. I've got a couple of gripes here, nothing to do with the family member who forgot, because I'm like, I should have remembered to remind them. Well, here's the other thing that frustrates me is like, as a woman, and I'm not getting all like feminist on you, I'm just saying as a woman, it feels like I truly do believe women were designed to be the ones that sort of manage everything. We're the house managers. And I feel like we're the people responsible for remembering everything. Now, in my house, I am a terrible rememberer, as is my husband. We will say to each other, remind me this, remind me that, and we'll both be like, oh my gosh, like we are not going to remember this. So instead, I use my phone. In fact, let me grab it. Hey friends, taking a quick break from editing to come out and ask you a quick question. First, are you subscribed? YouTube has done this thing where it always unsubscribes people. Like, it does this to every channel, so I'm not taking it personal. So please make sure you're subscribed. If you weren't before, please consider it. You can also turn on the notifications and give us a like. The other thing is, please let me know if you like this format of video. This isn't going to be the only format I make, but right now there are just a lot of things that I feel like chatting with you about. So let me know if you like it. Please let me know in the comments. Thanks. And I will, if my husband says to me, hey, I need you to do blank, go ahead. And I will just grab my phone and I will put whatever it is in there. And part of what made me think about this right now is that my husband, so one of my sons has a car that we have, and he ended up fixing it, but it needs to be fixed professionally. So my car is being used by him as he's at work, and I was happy to let him. And then my husband, he's out doing something to help a friend today. He's off. Well, my youngest son needs to be picked up from school. And my husband, I just phoned him a few minutes ago and I said, are you almost there? Because I can see where he is because of our car. And he is nowhere near getting to our son right now. Like, he is going to be so late picking up our son. Now, our son is 16, so he will be totally fine. But it just brought back those memories. And I was like, I need to come on here and talk to my friends, my champions, my sweeties on here, just to talk about these memories that haunt us, because I still feel bad about that. And I'm like, I so wished I had called that person and said, are you sure you're coming tomorrow? Like, remember to come tomorrow. And then like phoned them throughout the day, because at that time people were texting less. But it just is so, it's just like, I am haunted by mistakes I have made in the past of my life. And, you know, part of it is like that, like, oh, like, gotta manage everything. And you know, the other thing is like memories of like when I was a kid, when I did something, you know, like that one time I stole candy. And yes, once I stole candy. And feeling bad about these things, and feeling bad about lots of things. Even like, there was one time my parents, I was thinking about this yesterday. My parents had bought me this, it was a nice jacket. It was, you know, my parents didn't have like a ton of money, but it was a nice jacket. And like, we were, you know, comfortable enough, but not comfortable enough to be giving away jackets. But they got me this. It was from the Sears catalog. It was orange. And I remember lending it to somebody when I lived, you know, as a young adult in the ski town of Lake Louise. And then she up and left, and she took my jacket. And I felt terrible because my parents had bought that jacket. Now that incident was probably about 18 years ago. Here's Crumpet, you guys, my orange kitty. 18 years, 28 years ago? Wait, how old am I? It was a long time ago. So, not 28. Anyway, I was like 19. So, I feel bad, like haunted by these things. Like, tell me, are you haunted by things? Like, let me know in the chat. You don't have to tell me, or in the comments below, you don't have to tell me like specifics, but please let me know I'm not the only one that is haunted. And sometimes like I pray and I'm just like, God, like, please like help me feel like neutralized about these things that I can't do anything about now. But one other big regret that I have is, now I mentioned starting nursing school when my eldest was 5, and then there were 3 and 1. And just going through school, working, like it was like having a full-time job plus, because I went to school and then I came home and then I had homework. And it was always about like, sort of like, we did spend time together. And I have to remind myself, I was not a terrible mom. I was a good mom. I was loving and kind. However, there were so many times where I was like, okay, they just need to go to bed. Or I just wish somebody would take them on, you know, a trip or something. There was one time, it was actually like right before I finished nursing school, and I had to study for my licensing exam. And my husband took the 3 boys to a local island. I live on Vancouver Island, so another island, with a family member. And they went for 2 nights. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, I can get so much done. And my whole mindset forever was just about having the time to get things done, having the time to work on the house, having the time to work on my school. And then when I finished school, well, then I was like, well, I've got all this spare time, which was really not that much spare time. It was just like time to like hang out with the kids. But I had time to do my emergency nursing. So I did all of the courses for that, which is like it's quite involved. You know, a lot of people think nurses are just like, you know, glorified housekeepers or something. It's very, very, you're quite educated, let's just say. And with emergency nursing, it goes even deeper, right? It's a specialty. So going that much deeper. And then, you know, like, worked a couple of years, but then I started my business. And I was spending, you know, I didn't take a day off. Every day it was either working at my nursing job or start doing my YouTube, doing all of the things. And then, you know, like starting businesses within that. And I feel like in so many ways, I was just like wishing the kids just were like busier, or, you know, or like, how can I put this without sounding like a total monster? But, you know, wishing I had more time to do the things I wanted to do instead of appreciating the time I have with the kids. And a lot of people will say to you, like, enjoy it. I mean, everybody, you know, anybody watching this who has had kids or has had grandkids is like, enjoy it while it lasts. And it is so true. And that if you are watching this and you have little kids or kids younger than, whatever, enjoy it. And even this year, every year we have taken our kids down from where I live on Vancouver Island down to southern Vancouver Island in Victoria, and we take them to this place called Butchart Gardens, which is this beautiful garden, and they have incredible Christmas lights, and it is so, so lovely and so fun. And that is one of the things the kids always love to do, and we love to do it. And this last year we did it, and our oldest wasn't able to make it this time. Last year he was, or the year before. And this year I said, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to go over to Vancouver where we can have more fun. There's more to do. Like, the kids are so much older. There's so many more things we could do. They have an amazing Christmas market. So we booked it. And I said to my husband, I want to go to a hockey game. And I mean, we're not a hockey family. Thank God. Thank God. As a Canadian woman, I am so blessed by a man who does not love hockey. He doesn't hate it. And going to live games is fun. I went last year with my brother to the Calgary Flames game. And it was so fun, especially because I feel like, you know, in my soul, I would be a Flames fan if I was a hockey fan, because that's, you know, where I came from. And my dad was a Flames fan, and my brother is a Flames fan. So it was fun. And I said, we need to go to Vancouver Canucks game. So we're going to go, even though my husband's like, it's going to be expensive. And I said, well, here's the thing. The kids, right now, they're young. They're 20, 18, and 16. We can take them to do stuff like this while they're still, like, they're young, they're super mobile, like, they have more energy than us. It's actually so convenient. There's no, like, pretending certain things at Christmas anymore. There's a real freedom when your kids are, like, young adults. And so what we can do is go and do that. And I said, you know, like, they're going to start having bigger careers soon, and maybe one day family and children, and that is much harder. So while we can right now, I want to do as many fun things because I feel like I squandered a lot of my time before. So as far as, like, having regrets goes, a lot of people are like, no regrets. And I think that that's nice to say and all, but for me as a mom, as a woman, who I am, just my personality, that's not possible. And the bigger thing I think is, like, not beating yourself up. So, like, when I have those memories, I say, and honestly, like, one of my biggest regrets, I would say, like, I didn't have to think very long to be like, oh, that time that I didn't go to the thing for Ethan, right? So the number one thing is to say, all right, this is a mistake that was made. And as far as, like, the spending so much time kind of busy, and I mean, I did lots of things with my kids. We went on walks, we watched the movies, we snuggled, so much snuggling. But it's more just sort of like, I feel like I just wasn't appreciating it the way that I should have. And so being that I have regrets, it's accepting it, saying, okay, yes, there are regrets. Everybody has regrets. Not that it matters if everybody has regrets, but also, and here's the biggest part I think that all of us can take away from this, especially me, is moving forward. What do we do? And I was talking to somebody recently about, you know, certain things going on in the world and how, you know, if you feel like there's something you can do, then you feel better. You feel more empowered. If I'm going to just sit and feel bad about something, I'm just going to sit and feel bad. So if I feel bad about that situation with my son, I could always, like, phone him and be like, hey, how's it going? Like, just tell me about, like, what was your day like? He's an adult now. He lives, you know, over in Vancouver. But, you know, I can chat with him. I could go see him, whatever. And then as for the regrets about when they were kids and feeling like I wasn't appreciating it enough, I think that the bigger thing is, like, yes, like saying at Christmas, we're going to go to the Christmas market, we're going to go to the game, we're going to go and, you know, do these things. And yes, they cost money. We're going to save money so we can go and do that, because it's really important to sort of value what we have. And I think this is where, and a lot of people watching I know are grandparents, and you're probably all going to comment this, but it's, people seem to really act differently about their grandkids, and they're very like, they're just, grandparents get it. And I feel like very few parents do get it. And I have a couple of friends who have 9 children, each of them. It's Jessica from Three Rivers Homestead and Lisa from Farmhouse on Boone. And they both seem to understand. And it's probably because, like, Jessica has 2 kids, I think, who have graduated high school. And Lisa has one who's about to. And then you're like, oh, so that's going to happen. Like when my oldest graduated, I'm just going to see where my husband is now. But when my oldest graduated, it was something. Like I remember being like having this like feeling of dread in my, and it surprised me. And I knew he wanted to move right away because he wanted to go to school. And then when we dropped him off at school, at university, I just had the Thomas the Train song, the do 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 do, like going through my head as we're driving, like, you know, away from our Airbnb we're staying at on this road in North Vancouver, and just thinking and feeling like down, sad. And we go and we sit at this restaurant, and then the song Leaving on a Jet Plane comes on by Chantal Kreviazek, who's a Canadian, but if you're not Canadian, you know the song Leaving on a Jet Plane. Well, I just burst into tears because I was like, oh my gosh, like this is the stage that we're at. And I think that people who, you know, have babies and teenagers, they get it. So they're appreciating their babies more. So maybe it's not just me. Please tell me if it is. The moral of the story, though, is what are we doing to move forward? If you've done things like horrible things, then, and I'm not saying like the things that I'm sharing with you are horrible or that I think I've done anything horrible, but even if you have, what can you do moving forward? How can you maintain those relationships and repair them? What are your plans to enrich things going forward? For me, it's just all about trying to get those experiences. And you know, like the material things, you know, on this channel, we talk about minimalism and decluttering. And this is one of the big things that I've been talking about for so long, is about how it's so important for us to appreciate that our stuff is not it's not important. And when we talk about our family, and, you know, people will, it's so emotional decluttering things that are family members' things. And it's because of the emotion behind it. And we have like sadness and we have regret. Well, the things aren't what matter. It's the people, it's the memories. And even if some of those people are gone, like my dad is gone. And I just, the other night was just thinking about him, and I just was like, oh my gosh, like I'm just like overwhelmed with sadness at times. But also, you know, his things, I have a couple, and that's great. It's totally fine. I have a few things. I've shown them in videos in the past. But also, it's mostly the memories, and even writing those down and journaling it, even like recording a video about it. So I hope that this ended up making you feel uplifted. Check out this video here. I think you'll find it very, very helpful. Thanks for joining me, friends. I hope something great happens for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.